Beautiful people, welcome back to episode 8 of the It's All Bullshit podcast. Okay, and today, you know what's been really juicy in my field? Like, let's just talk about this real quick before I dive into the subject, is that I've been getting hits for podcast episodes throughout the week, like most random. So, Thursday last week, because I'm looking at my notes here, I was typing up the information from episode 7 and oh, I better make sure I have my like AI companion on because it's going to create the actual text now. So I've been using the AI companion in Zoom for my trainings that I need video like summaries on when I teach something. And now for my podcast so that it could be the show notes. But anyway, so I was typing up the notes for episode 7 last week because I didn't do that last week. This is a brand new thing in my world. As you can tell, I just fucking forgot to like hit it because I'm like, yeah, we need to do this in the space of everything. And all of a sudden, this idea dropped in for the podcast today. And I am loving the fact that I have a baseline for today's podcast that I knew last Thursday that this is what I wanted to lean into and create for you and talk into. And most likely, because of certain things that I was seeing in the collective, certain things that were happening with my clients, certain dynamics that were happening in the world. And it dropped in like, this is what you need to teach. And I'm like, fuck yeah, let's go. And so, a couple things. I just came off of teaching an almost 2 hour training, and I needed to record the podcast now because I got to go work out. And for some of you that watch it on YouTube or, real content that I create, it's like my hair is sort of almost done. I have a bit of mascara on, and I was like, you need to record this now before you go work out and get all sweaty and put your hair up and shit like that. And then, after a workout, you get into that zone of like, I don't know about you, but for me, it's like, I kind of tap out a little bit, especially if it's late in the day, like it's 4 p.m. here right now. And so I'm like, yeah, I don't really think that I want to record this later. So I'm recording it right now. So my voice is a little bit shaky because I've just been teaching. So if I take some slurps of my water as we move through, just know it's because I'm replenishing the energy field for you. But the conversation I want to have with you guys today and the title of this episode is going to be, Are you done with living the life others told you you had to? And it's like, woof. If we let this land in our energy field right now and you let yourself feel that, it's like, fuck. So many of us, like, I would probably say that there's like 99% of the population that somewhere in their timeline of this earth experience and their bodies in this time have chosen a pathway or said yes to something because someone else wanted them to. So I remember this time in my life, it was back in 2015. Okay. So some of you have heard this story. I haven't talked about my twin flame journey, but I did talk a little bit about one of my exes, in one of the other episodes of the podcast. And I want to lean into this conversation in connection with this business model. So back in the day, me and my ex had just broken up. Now he's my twin flame and all the things. And we had this really like fucking codependent relationship and just speaking up into the space of how it was. Like, that's just the truth. It was very toxic for us to be together because we were refusing to do the work that needed to happen for us to be sustained independently and then come back together in wholeness. Because if you know anything about the twin flame journey, it's like if we come and haven't done the work that is meant for us to do, we're mirroring the work back at each other. So both of us hadn't done the work. So it was super frictionable, but also super fucking passionate as well. Okay. In the space of that. But we had broken up in May. Like, I don't know, I think I actually remember the date. And let's just not pretend I don't. May the 25th of 2015. Okay. So that's 11 years ago we broke up. We fucked around for years after that in the space of shit and all the dynamics of stuff. This was in May of that year. One of his MOs was he was a white knight. He wanted to save me. He tried to save me. And part of the mechanism was I needed to be independent and he was always trying to save me and I let him. So therefore it diminished the energy of me being independent. Okay. This was a whole big thing, but he actually wanted an independent woman. And there's a long story in connection with some of the work that we've done, like outside of that relationship and the work I've done in myself and the space of it all. And it's like, I watched this play out. I created scenarios for him to come and actually save me. And now he was in the glass and window industry in Ontario, Canada. And he had a client that did a little bit of business with some of his products who owned a franchise in the northern part of Ontario. And one day, the owner of the company, when my ex-boyfriend was in there, one day said to him, "Hey, I've been considering buying another franchise and opening up another location, but I don't want to do it on my own. I want to do it with partners." And so they were having this conversation, and then my ex-boyfriend and I were still communicating, and he calls me on his way home from this meeting and says, "I got an idea for you." So he tells me this idea, of opening up this second location with this guy, and that the big goal would be to have 5 locations in 5 years, and this could be my way out. This could be my cash cow. Like I would help start up the businesses because my MO at the time was in business consulting, and my expertise was in leadership development, process management, growth strategies, and duplication of business. Okay, so like you bring me into your front end. I'll make sure all the processes are tight, the hiring mechanisms, because that's what I used to do, were spot on. We had a system that turned key. We had marketing strategies that went into depth. We hit all the angles and we could make this work. And we could then duplicate it to open up other locations. I've helped companies franchise. Okay. That was my other side to the stuff and the work I did. And so when he came to me with this, I knew I could do the work, but something in me said no. And so I said no. And then he fucking started yelling at me and all the things. And he's like, "I said yes to this for you, and this is for you. I don't need this shit. Da, 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 da." And then I finally just said, "Fuck, fine. Fine. Let's do it." So we started making plans, doing all the things, investing the money, got a location, got the shit started up. In April, we opened up the doors in 2016 and we ran. And from April to the end of the year, we had the highest franchise opening. The franchise was coming to me, asking me for my training manuals, which of course I didn't give to them because I was like, "No way, man, you're going to fucking buy this and I'm going to get money on it every single time someone opens up a franchise and uses the documents." They didn't like that answer. We had the highest sales for new businesses. Literally, I was on calls with their marketing department, fucking schooling their marketing department. And we were unheard of in the industry. Nobody knew where we were. If you went to the United States, you knew of this company because they had a huge imprint in the US. There was only 6 locations in Canada, and nobody in our region had heard of it. But I had established lots of connections in the space inside of there. And why I'm telling you guys this story today is we kept the business open until the following year of 2017. In June, we shut it down. It was bleeding money. No matter how much we made in the front end, we didn't have proper teams. We kicked out our partner in November of that year because he wanted to do my job instead of do his fucking job, and I can't do his job. I'm not a technician. I don't install glass, and nor do you ever want me fucking installing anything, okay? And his ego got bruised because we did more revenue in that year than he did in his first 10 years of business. But that's my expertise. And we were all in our spaces. And if we just would own the space we were in, we could make this work. But I was working 18-hour days. I gained a bunch of weight. I was super fucking unhappy because my mission wasn't leading a glass business, right? And at the beginning, when he offered this to me, I said no for a reason. Now, I did learn a shit ton in the process. It really helped me in my consulting side because I had all of this as clout. It's still a landscape I can speak into because of just the effectiveness of what transpired there. But it's like it wasn't juicy as fuck for me. But I made this decision because I was trying to appease my ex-boyfriend. I was trying to play the good ex-girlfriend. I was trying to do what he said to do. And so many of us in our life have these stories. You go to school to become an accountant. One of my past clients, when I used to do job career, like career coaching. Yeah, I did career coaching. Isn't that crazy? Most of you probably never knew that because I don't ever talk about it. But so I used to use this index called Colby as a leadership tool. Every so often, I still have coaches that hire me to do these assessments with their clients, but it's not something I ever promote at all and haven't promoted it in years, like years and years and years. So remember, I've been an entrepreneur and I started in the process development side and leadership stuff 17 years ago this May. So, I've got a lot of clout under my belt. Like, let's just say the first 11 years I was using all this stuff. And I used to do career coaching. And one woman came to me, she was young, and she was going to school to be an accountant. And when we did all of her testing and everything back, I was like, the last job in the whole fucking world you should ever be doing is accounting. What came back is she should be an improv fucking actor. Okay? Two different fucking things. But you know why she went into accounting? Because her parents wanted her to, because they wanted her to be in a stable job. They wanted her to be in a space that she can make revenue. But her assets were in publicity or in marketing. And she could do so much more like money that way because she would be in her expertise and her fucking flow and her talents as a human on this earth plane and not fighting up against the system of where she shouldn't fucking land. And so many of us have made decisions in our life that are based on what our husband thinks we need to do, and it completely goes outside of what you know is right and true, of what our family says we need to do. Like I've watched, and no knocking to my Italian friends, okay? I love Italians. I love their fucking food. I love their passion. But some of the Italian people that I've watched and witnessed in my world make decisions based in their family instead of what's best for them. And every day of the week, they're like, oh, well, I can't do that because my family wouldn't agree. And I'm like, what? And now I am a rebel. Yes, granted. But I also want to witness this in the space of some things. If you aren't living your best aligned life and your family can't accept that this is the pathway for you, you've got other shit going down. A lot of us have disowned people in our families because of value systems, because of different dynamics that has then liberated us to find other people we consider family. Now, I get the whole bloodline tie and everything along those lines, but some of you need to fucking step the fuck in. Some of you need, because you're living a life right now that fucking sucks balls for you and you fucking hate your world. And the more you're in that, guess what? The more you're fucking in that, which means that you are not serving humanity. You are not lit up in the space. You're not making your difference in the impact of the world. You wouldn't be listening to this podcast if you weren't aligned to impact and service in some way, shape, or form. And you are not doing that if you are literally diminishing yourself in these relationships. And a lot of us are witnessing now how we made choices in our life that were aligned in this exact energy. Now, we can't change the past, guys. But what we can do is look at our present moment and take an inventory to be like, is this still juicy as fuck for me? Does this still align? Is this a choice that I would make today again? And if not, what do you need to do to change it? Some of you need to have some fucking conversations in your world. Some of you need to quit your jobs and go find another job that actually serves your heart or start the business. So I have a beautiful girlfriend in my world. And about a year ago, this idea channeled in for her. She's super creative. Like she's meant to be doing work in a certain aspect of fun, creative outlets. She's an artist, had diminished that over the years because, you know, a programming came in from her family that artists don't make money. So guess what? She fucking believed that, right? So she let go of the dream and the essence, costumes and service and being in the field and creating tactilely with her hands are her MO. And it was a year ago that I was like, dude, you have no other option now. Like everything else is stopped and stalled. This is the calling. And you need to decide if you're going to now lead your life and light from your true heart to actually connect into wealth, abundance, connection, peace, and joy, or if you're going to try and still stay in that conformity over there, working in that box that's keeping you fucking limited. And so she made the choice to get out. And she started the brand's evolving, so much fucking creative juice is moving through, new offers, new products, new ways to work in the space with her, you know, very tactile stuff, coloring books and cards and children's books in the space of things. That's her brand. And is she building it? Yes. Is it making the thousands and thousands of dollars a month she desires to? Yet, no. But will it? Yes. If she stays on the pathway. Sometimes the fucking moves that we're making in our world don't make any sense. And the people in our life will not agree with you. But we need to do it anyways. We need to move it anyways. We need to maneuver this anyways. Like there's a lot of times I'm sure my family's like they got it now. You know, I'm 44. We've been doing this game for a long time. But I can imagine in my 20s when I made some moves that they're like, what the fuck is she doing? Like we have what the fuck? This doesn't make any goddamn sense. Especially the time when I went to Vegas on an intuitive hit. That was funny. I told the story somewhere and I can't remember where I told it, but I literally had no cash flow at the time. I was bone dry. I probably had $500 to my name. And I got this random intuitive hit that I needed to go to Vegas to go find something and send a message to someone. And oh my God, I don't even want to go into the story, but I'm remembering parts and pieces of it. But I had to call home from Vegas to my mom to be like, Mom, I'm in Vegas. I have no money left. I need you to fly me back home. And she's like, What the fuck are you doing with your life? This was like in my 30s. What the fuck are you doing with your life? And I'm like, Mom, it was on an intuitive hit. I had to find this, and I ended up finding this burlesque woman and giving her this message about her daughter. That was the most random fucking thing. Like, if you were a burlesque dancer in a fucking Vegas show, and all of a sudden this chick comes up to you and she's like, Hey, I have a message from you. And you hand off a message that says, stop this. I can't remember exactly what it said. You need to stop this, and this, because if you continue on this pathway, your daughter won't be able to step into her soul's mission. She has a big impact to make at the world, and you carrying this weight is going to diminish that light for her. You need to stop that fucking shit. Somebody that you don't know hands you a fucking message from Canada. Obviously, she doesn't know all that. I just literally passed it off to her and left. And it's a whole fucking thing, okay? I don't suggest that you do this kind of stuff, okay, in the space of things. But you know me, I'm a rebel. And if you're watching the video, it's like I can't stop fucking smiling at this time in my life. And my mom was like, What the fuck are you doing with your fucking life? Are you on drugs? I'm like, no, I'm just stuck in Vegas. Can you fly me home? Because I took my last $200 to the blackjack table to try and make it back so that I could double the money to have money to get home, but I couldn't deposit it anyway. So it didn't, like, it's like a whole big thing. So anyways, that was a whole, like, a story I tell her often. And she's just like, Fuck you, Colleen. I can't believe you fucking did that shit. She doesn't swear at me, but that's just my interpretation of her energy. But it's like, let me get back onto the subject matter of the podcast. You know me and my random stories. If you were in my personal world at all, I send random stories to my friends all the time. Like yesterday, my girlfriend Dawn, one of the mentors and coaches we follow, was talking about high school graduation and how it's his 30th year. And it prompted me to go and find my ex from high school, who actually blocked me on Facebook, um, back in my early 20s. It was warranted, like I had broken his heart so many times throughout middle school and high school. I deserve the block. But I did a search on like private searches on your phone. If anyone's ever blocked you before and you want to go find their, like, obviously I can't go all the way into their profiles, but I searched his name and like Winnipeg, because that's where I grew up. And I found that he's a teacher, and he had this like article made of him. And there was a photo of him, and I sent it to my girlfriend Dawn. I was like, I'm so grateful that I did not marry this guy. Like it just like completely different kind of energy. And I would be a whole different person. Like, let's just be real about that. Like, I would be a whole different person. But these are the random messages you get. So when I digress onto random stories in the podcast, here's what I have to say. It's my fucking podcast, so I'm going to be as random as I want. But I'm also going to close the energy in the field of what the subject is, I promise. But hopefully you're entertained by me. And some of you learned so much about me through my podcast. And it almost is like, if we talk about a marketing tactic, which this is more service, this dropped in as an intuitive hit. This is just like me speaking off the cuff and juicy energy and just fucking landing it for you guys. And whether you receive it in whatever way you receive it is up to you. But over time, podcasts can become marketing and strategies, right? So you get a certain amount of energy on your belt, and then you bring in some guests, and now the podcast is being promoted and people come into your field and they listen, it's edified, all the things in the space of that. So it's like, yeah, but people get to know me this way too. And they know who I am as a person, and they know how I show up in the world and what to expect from me. Like, you're not coming into my coaching mentorship world if you need me to just love on you and tell you that you're doing okay when you're not. That's not who I am. It's called the It's All Bullshit podcast for a reason, right? It's about a call out and a call up, right? It's about us looking at shit in our life right now that isn't working and having real talk conversations about it to be able to decide to make a shift and a choice. That's what this is. And it's like, so if we can't talk about where we're conforming in our life because we were trying to appease these people in our world, then you're still going to be living under an illusion. And it wasn't until so my ex-boyfriend and I never got back together after that. We fucked around for years and years after that. But he was like, and he always blamed me for this. He's like, I started this because of you. And I should have said no. And I should have held that no instead of doing this. But yeah, it got me certain relationships. I learned a lot about business. It even edified more of the work I did in the world, but it cost a lot of money and a lot of energy and a lot of shit. And like we closed that business down in July, like officially July of 2017. In August of 2017, I went to a concert with a girlfriend of mine, Gwen Stefani, and I got so hammered that I passed out. And it was like I hadn't released all this fucking built up energy for the last 15 months. And I went and got so shit faced at this concert that she literally like had to drag me into the house. I fell and had bruises all over my face waking up. And it was warranted. Like I should have gotten those bruises. I was in a fucked up position at the time because I was out of alignment, hadn't processed all this energy, didn't grieve my relationship. My ex-boyfriend and I were still fucking around. All this stuff and energy we had co-created together was just blown the fuck up. She literally dropped me off at his house and I was on his couch. And he wakes me up in the morning. He's like, what the fuck are you doing with your life? And I'm like, I don't fucking know. Has that ever happened again since then? No. But I remember being so out of alignment. And most people, if you look at your world and you are not connected in certain spaces, and maybe it's not drugs and maybe it's not alcohol, but it's other things. Like we're distracted or we're saying yes to shit we don't want to, and our fucking health is waning, or like it's like we're in these relationships that don't feel aligned for us any longer. And we're so fucking scared of speaking our truth into the space. It's like, this is the time. We are not meant to live mediocre lives in conformity, people. We are meant to be liberated and fucking juicy as fuck and in pleasure and desire and within flows of avenues and energies. This is where we're meant to live. But most of us are making decisions to appease other people. We're making decisions to people fucking please in the world. It's like I've talked about this before about content. If you cannot speak your truth online because you're scared of what your mother is going to say about your content, fucking unfriend your mother. Okay, like when I started diving into the sexual edge of my brand, I sat my mom down and said, look, this is what I'm doing. I'm not asking for permission. I'm telling you this is what's happening. So if you get feedback from some of my aunts who follow me on Facebook, you can respond back as to what's going on. But the second she had an opinion about a photo of mine, I shut it down. I said, Mom, if you can't handle the pictures I'm posting on Facebook, unfriend me. She didn't like that. We're still fucking friends on Facebook. But I had to own my power there because my mission, my impact in the world is more important than whether my mom feels comfortable enough to see my nipples through a white dress online. And that's the thing you have to grasp. We are never going to get everybody on our side. And especially if we have different value systems, if our, like my brother and I do not see eye to eye in a lot of aspects of our life, but we have a certain laneway. My nephew, having fun, connecting in certain things, that's where we play. I don't expect my brother to come play with me in sovereignty side or in holistic health practices or in the space of conspiracy theories. I don't bring him over there. I don't even go into that space. Like we were on completely opposing ends through COVID. I don't bring him to my side. I lead my life and I meet him where I meet him when I'm in my brother box, period. Right? I'm not trying to conform, but I also don't go to my brother for opinions. I don't go ask unless I wanted to know about sports and shit, or like, he does what's the word? Like sports analogy. He runs a draft online. He's doing some shit. He got picked up from a podcast. I don't know if he's getting paid for it yet, but it really serves his heart center. And they are aligned to the Kansas City Chiefs in football. If I want to know about fucking football and the Kansas City Chiefs, guess who I'm going to? My brother, because he knows everything about it. He dissects their games. He does all this shit, right? And in the space of that. And that's when I will go to him. I don't go to him for spirituality or what I think about what the government's fucking doing in the world. I don't go there. I already know we're on completely opposing sides to this. And I will not take his opinion into my own energy, into the field of this, because I already know we're on opposing sides. And I don't need to argue with him about it because I already know that. I live in my truth. And I'm not trying to make someone else come into my world unless they want to and are asking me questions about it and are questioning that. But he doesn't. Amazing. Great. Let's keep fucking moving. Where else do we fit in this mechanism together to play in this world, in this alignment? And I want you and desire you to feel this out in your own field. Where are you limiting yourself because your brother thinks this, because your auntie wants that, because your parents said you have to, or because your grandmother will, blah, 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 blah. Guys, you can do whatever the fuck you want in your life, right? That's your opinion. That's your right. That's your sovereignty. But most of us are still conforming in some way, shape, or form. We're not saying the shit we desire to say. We're not actually leading in the space we desire to lead. We're not stepping fully the fuck into the space of this alignment. And that's the truth. So if you let that land in your field right now, you're going to be like, fuck, that's the truth. So how do you shift this? What needs to happen in your world for you to loosen the ties of the grip vices that are controlling your world for you to get out? One of my girlfriends, it's really hard for her to talk to her mother. Really hard. So here's what she does. She moves into a fucking new country, so her mother doesn't have access to her as much. Not the right answer, but sort of the right answer. The right answer is stop letting your mom control your fucking life. Speak up. Don't let this happen. Some of my people, I'm like, what? What? And I'm just like, for real? Now I know I'm a rebel. I know that I see through things. Like I have a very high level of awareness. Okay. It served me well in the space of stuff. But I'm just like, are you you're gonna really? So is there a really in your life? When you're listening to this, what's coming up in your field? You're gonna know right away. You fucking know. So where do we need to transition this? Where do we need to pull back? Where do we need to cut ties? I just got this ping of like mentorship. If you are staying in a mentorship that is no longer aligned for you because you still have payments owed to them, you need to cut that fucking tie. Because that energy of you showing up in misalignment is fucking you up. Pay your contract out. Stop going to the calls. There's some people that I know that have done this that completely liberated them. They finished their payments. They held their energetic contract that way, but they stopped leaking the energy. Some of you are doing things because you think you need to do things in order to appease other people. No bueno, my friend. Okay, I feel complete. I'm really craving a burger right now, though. So I'm thinking I'm going to go cook beef before I go work out. I'm going to go cook some beef. I'm going to cook up some side vegetables. I'm going to go live my life. I'm going to go take Lily for a walk. She's going to go play in the park with her friends. She's going to come home and eat dinner. We're going to have a fucking great evening together. I'm going to do some work, get some shit off my list, fucking fuel it through. Because guess what? That's my choice. And I choose that. And I choose to do whatever the fuck I want every day because I can. And so can you. I love you guys. I'll see you guys in the next episode.